is a legend of one man who persuaded his friends to watch every Godzilla movie ever made. This world is on the brink of destruction. We need you now, Godzillavangelists! Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast. Produced and hosted by Ryan Sargent. Featuring Sam Schlenker and Joanna Brodecki.
In lieu of my usual genius cold openings today, I'm going to show you guys something that came out a few weeks ago and has delighted me ever since. So, are either of you familiar with the old Epic Rap Battles channel?
I'm not.
Vaguely.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a YouTube standby. They have been around since like 2009, and at first it was kind of lame, but over time they actually got really smart with their writing and production values. It's a very clever and fun show, and I still listen to them a lot. But a few weeks ago, they came out with a Godzilla versus King Kong rap battle. So, I want to share that with you guys and get your thoughts.
This voice is something else. Oh my god, this is scary. My boy, Kong. Kong is looking extra like a Yeti in this one.
He is.
You can't fill seats yourself. I am surprised. Grim, our favorite.
Your fish lips around tenacious ski way to rap Godzilla. More like brave me. Japan, you were a metaphor for nuclear war. But in Hollywood, they left your balls on the cutting room floor. And then the 90s didn't make you any cooler. What kind of bumpy chump gets pumped by Ferris Bueller? So go ahead and blow blue. I'ma make you cold blue. I'm an oxygen destroyer.
I like that they changed Kong's look for this one.
Yeah, they're moving them together in space.
Right.
Anyways, that was more disappointing than your anime. Like
The balloon.
it's just another
Oh, the anime.
You ugly monster fucker. Still don't know how you got pregnant. Your whole suit's a bit rubber. No fear of Gojira. I ain't here on no Monsterverse. The only Honda vehicle that don't retain a war. There'll be no victory dance. Your Jeep fans will lead no sense. 'Cause if you drop kick at me, I'll shove a tree on your neck. On the apex scrape, great with the 8.
Our favorite move, the tree.
This awful gorilla won't be bringing no silver bands. Just a running
intro and exit voice for me is the real killer.
Well, that's an old standby.
That's how
They've been
they
doing
go.
that since the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the tradition. But
You know, I thought Godzilla had that one in the bag, and then on the one line of you're the only Honda vehicle that don't retain no worth or something like that. And then, like,
it's a great line.
I think Kong might have taken it on one line alone. and like how many people are watching this going, like, getting all of those references?
They
They're
really
like, oh, yes,
I
I
know.
know.
so many references.
It was like just made for us.
Right, yeah.
The berry
Watched
juice.
that before our live show. I mean, it wasn't out then, but
Right. The reference to the secondary brain that they talked about in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2.
the Godzilla
Yeah,
animes, him referencing those is really what I think the takedown was, and filling seats on his own. Well, when we get into the movie, I have some thoughts on the title of the film.
Yes, as do I.
Yeah.
Questions for
I
Ryan.
think everyone does, actually.
Yeah.
Apart from the animation, which is pretty iffy, I loved it, honestly.
Oh, it was very fun. I think worth a watch for anyone who knows the. Maybe I'll send it to my dad.
Wait, which one are you? When you say the animation being iffy, are you talking about the movie, or the rap battle?
Both, but in the rap battle in particular. Yes, I appreciated that their two slams were. Well, I guess they also slammed All Monsters Attack, which we like. But the other two slams were very agreed with on our podcast, Pacific Rim 2 and the anime. Both
I mean, as I recall,
pretty sorry entries.
The Pacific Rim 2 hate, as I recall, our guest Jordan Allen liked it more than the first one. And
He did, which is crazy, but the rest of us had the correct opinion.
No, I think my opinion of the first one isn't really that great either. Is pretty valid.
Let's not get into this here, but at least you agreed it was better than the second one. so I'll take that.
Well, I'll just open up. Our discussion of this newest movie that we all saw in the theater yesterday, and say that I thought it was better than the last one. I thought Paul Rudd was really good in it. I like this new Frozen Empire, and honestly, if anything, it could have used more of Godzilla vs. Kong, because they were like barely in it. Like, I don't even know if they were in it.
I know, it was really hard
Kong,
to see them.
Kong was in it a lot. It was basically Kong's biopic, I felt.
Sam's making a joke, Joanne.
Oh, got it.
He's saying that he accidentally saw the Ghostbusters movie.
You guys, I just Googled Paul Rudd, Godzilla times Kong, to see if Godzilla was playing that one that was basically Scar, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, that was Paul Rudd playing Scar King.
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool. Yeah, he really transformed. He channeled his inner Andy Serkis and played Scar.
You guys, how embarrassing on my end, but
It's
oh well.
no. It was a stretch.
It's all right. I think it made Sam's jokes funnier, actually.
Yeah, no, it needed a boost. Anyway, Ghost X Busters.
Yes. Welcome back to Godzillavangelists. I'm Ryan. I'm here with my buddies Sam and Joanna. It's so nice to be here just a day after the release of Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, a very awkwardly named movie, especially since, yes, Frozen Empire also just came out.
Oh,
Which would have been very
the
appropriate
name
because
of
there's a lot of ice in this movie, too.
There is.
Oh, is Frozen Empire the name of the Ghostbusters one? Oh, got it.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Wow.
I probably wouldn't have made the joke. But
Right.
Obviously, I don't need to defend myself. It was a perfect joke, and
No, it was a perfect one.
No notes. So yeah, that's what we're covering today. If you haven't seen it, this will have spoilers. And I will say it feels so nice and cozy to be here again. I love our day after podcast recordings when the buzz is still fresh. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, it's new and hype.
This feels like the quickest we've ever done it. I feel like Thursday, maybe one other time we've done it on a Saturday.
Yeah, I think so. We did this for King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, and this, and I think King of the Monsters we did the day after, but I think Godzilla vs. Kong was a few days after it came out. But
King
anyway,
of
it's the same vibe.
King of the Monsters, I saw when I first moved to New York, and I think I was out until 4 a.m. the night before, and then I had to see the movie at 10 a.m. to catch our, 9 a.m. PST recording time, and I was so hungover, and I had to leave the film, and I think I threw up in the bathroom a little bit
Oh no!
because that movie at 10 a.m. when you're hungover, the sound was so loud. It was terrible. And I think I held off to tell you until just now. But
Yes.
Cobble Hill Cinemas, shout out to you.
Did you also see this movie there?
I almost did because I just moved back to Brooklyn, and then I thought, no, I'm gonna see that Nighthawk instead, which is a slightly bougier one, so it's fun.
Nice. Do you guys want to give your one sentence-ish spoiler-free thoughts before we dive into it?
Yep. Love my boy Kong. 12 out of 10. Fun.
Yeah.
That's 2 sentences.
Had a really good time. Could poke holes. Don't. Just let it wash over you, and just who cares?
We're all doing like haikus. Could poke holes. Don't. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you guys really said it all. I enjoyed myself quite a bit, more than I thought I would. Obviously, a deeply flawed movie, but mostly in ways that don't matter. We'll get into it.
I think, too, when I saw going into it, the runtime was 1 hour and 50. I was like, that feels like a nice, tight movie for this type of film. To just be under 2 hours, to be like, we're going to keep the plot pretty simple. We're not going to introduce 1,000 other main characters into the story, and that's going to be that. I feel like it was the perfect length for me.
I agree. And because this just came out, I'm not going to do a synopsis, but I'm not sure I could do one any big way because this movie just feels like a stream of consciousness.
Yes.
Things just are happening.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, there was a point about a half to 2/3 of the way through the movie where the movie picks up for me after the beginning. The beginning was, I think, not my favorite, and then it started getting going, and I was like, I'm having a good time with this, and then at a certain point, I was like, wait a minute, can I just try to wrap my head around why anyone's doing? Nah, forget it. No, it's fine. Like that, I had that moment where I was like, why are they doing this now? Who? Why did the people call them? All right.
Why is that Scar King monster still alive? Why didn't they kill that monkey guy? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever.
No. I mean, any criticisms of the Scar King are going to be roundly rejected by me because the Scar King is the guy. Like he's the man. The ape. He's great.
Yeah, what's his name?
Yes.
Is he Scar King?
Yeah, Scar King.
Shut up, he is?
Yeah, that's what they call him.
Oh, the ripoff from Disney. My favorite movie, The Lion King. But it's okay, it's good. It's keep things simple for us, Clear villain right from the start with that name.
I mean, I don't mind sharing with you, audience, that the one thing Sam texted us last night after he saw it is that Scar King is body goals. Which is pretty great.
He was so tall, that Scar King.
Yes. A lot of people, when they saw the initial trailers and teasers, said this Godzilla and Kong are fighting Lanky Kong in this one. Which, if you don't know who that is, I'll show you real quick.
Oh, that's him. Oh my god, he slimmed up a little bit.
That is Scar King.
That's him. Can we, before we dive into this movie, can one of you give a 5-sentence recap for the listeners and me on the last movie that led up to this?
I can try.
Because as it started, I went, oh no, I should have brushed up. And then I went, actually, it doesn't matter. But I still am curious. I still would like to know.
You're right. It doesn't really matter. Basically, at the beginning, we find out that Skull Island inexplicably flooded and was completely destroyed, and so they have Kong and Gia, the little girl. They're like the last survivors of Skull Island in a containment unit. And then somehow Kong gets out, and like he and Godzilla keep moving towards each other.
And they hate each other because of past things. They got baggage.
It's like an ancestral rivalry. There's like stone carvings of giant apes and Godzilla's fighting each other. And so yeah, they fight a bunch. And meanwhile, Millie Bobby Brown and Brian Tyree Henry, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
They're like investigating
I forgot
something
Millie.
at the
I thought
cybernetics
Millie-
plant.
Is this the one that Kyle Chandler's in? No, I thought that was the
Yes.
other one.
So Kyle Chandler has a brief cameo in the last one, but the main one he and Millie Bobby Brown in were the one before that. But they were
and that
both
was the one that
in-
I did not like. But this other
Right,
one I
yes.
did like. Okay, great. Thank you.
So yeah, they were investigating, and they found out that like this Apex company was evil, and they were developing what turned out to be Mechagodzilla, which was the thing that was driving Godzilla crazy. And so Godzilla and Kong fight. Godzilla beats Kong, but leaves him alive. And then Mechagodzilla pops out, almost kills Godzilla, but Godzilla and Kong team up to kill Mechagodzilla, and that was basically the last movie.
And that was the fight where at one point they were in Hollow Earth. They were like, I remember a really cool shot. Anyways, I just remember a cool shot of them flying through space. Some kind of not
Yeah,
space,
they did
but
go to
space.
Hollow Earth in the last one. Yeah, that's when they found out about
So
Hollow Earth, which you kept calling Middle Earth in that episode.
I still am confused by it. But I love both. I gotta say, Middle Earth, Hollow Earth, I love them both. They're both beautiful.
Central Earth, anything that has the center of the Earth or the middle of the Earth, Joanna's into. What was the ending of Godzilla versus Kong? Didn't he go like back to Middle Earth, and there were other apes there? Or am I crazy?
There were not other apes there. He was just like, happy because he didn't have to live in a dome anymore. He was like running around and swinging on shit, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm king here." That was the end.
Right,
And
okay.
Gia started living with
Dr. Rebecca Hall, whose name I actually remembered.
yeah. Okay, great. We got it. So now we're ready.
So this is the movie I would have come up with if you had shoved the tape recorder in my face as a 10-year-old and was like, "You have 10 minutes to come up with the next Godzilla movie." And for that, I love it. Like, when I woke up, I was like, "Did I dream that? Was that like a dream I had once?" One thing I do want to tell you guys up front, I don't know if you heard of this or could even tell, because to me it was kind of obvious, but maybe it was just because I knew. So about a year ago, they did the first test screenings of this, and it did not go well.
Really?
So they went back and rewrote and refilmed a bunch of stuff, and it got a much better reception. And so because I knew that, I could like easily pick out the stuff that they added later, or at least I think I can. One of those things was Mothra added in.
Okay, that
after
makes
the fact.
sense because she, to be honest, no offense, Ryan, she did stuff, but she didn't really do that much for the whole big show they made of waking her up. She I just thought she'd be more in the fights, but this makes a ton of sense now of why she wasn't.
Right.
I kept at the end, I'm like, where's the fucking mom? Why is she just floating in the background?
Yes, Mothra added post-test screenings, which is why she is sometimes like, where is she? She spends the entire last battle like holding the little spaceship so it doesn't fall.
Right.
But they added Mothra. How can I complain?
Yeah. That's so funny. What else did they?
That's the one thing I know for sure. I suspect the submarine was added because one of the other complaints is it wasn't clear what Godzilla was doing. So,
Well,
like,
he
the
was
whole
sleeping
thing
at
with,
the
like,
Coliseum. Come on, it's pretty obvious.
the whole thing with the submarine tracking him, I also feel like was a post ad. And then there's like so many ADR lines. Like,
Oh,
you can
yeah.
constantly people saying
So
things
many
off camera.
ADR
There-
lines.
that's
Oh
pretty wild,
my
yeah.
god. Rebecca Hall was narrating the whole fucking film to the ADR. I was like, please make it stop.
Well,
Make it
I don't want
stop.
to. I want to give her some credit. She was also her regular non-ADR lines were also all exposition.
ADR
So,
lines. Yeah.
like,
What
like,
a
she was-
dull
yeah.
character.
Yeah.
Character. Sorry, I hate to say it. It's so boring. Like, because she's
Yeah.
not like Sigourney Weaver scientist cool. You know what I mean? She's still like kind of an uptight scientist. Like, if you're going to have a scientist who just has to narrate the whole time, at least give her a little more cool vibe. Whatever.
I
Yeah,
don't
she
want
was
to
definitely.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say she was definitely channeling the like dorky, nervous mom, but I felt like it worked in the sense of like
You know what she was giving?
making her arc with Geo work.
You could have put Scarlett Johansson from A Marriage Story in that same role. It was basically the same haircut, the same outfits. That was the
Oh, that's
character.
a good point. That was the same haircut. You're onto something, Joanna.
In the costume documents, setting it up, they're like just showing photos from A Marriage Story. So that
I have a hot take regarding the characters, though, and that is that, for my money, the Dan Stevens Kaiju vet is the best human character in any of these legendary Godzilla movies.
fantastic.
I think
Amazing.
which is
think
a
you
low
might be
bar.
right.
It's a low bar. Like, I admit, like, they're not always memorable, but it felt like he was exactly in the right movie and was like doing shtick, but it wasn't like I feel like the Brian Tyree Henry, and I feel bad for him too. Like, it's not his fault. I'm not blaming any actor for anything, but like a lot of those lines really fall with a thud for me. His kind of joke lines, but I felt like the Dan Stevens character wasn't joke lines. He was just funny and just kind of like a bright source of energy. He's like an injection of energy anytime he was on screen, which is good. And I liked him.
I think too, his role, like the idea of, oh, it's a vet for the Titans. It's like such a unique job specific to it's like, oh yeah, that is a role that would exist in this movie and only in this movie. So it feels like unique for that. And you could just tell Dan Stevens was having a fucking blast. I was just thinking about how much, all us women had crushes on him in Downton Abbey. And I was like, look at him just having fun. He's having his Ryan Gosling Ken moment up there, but playing a vet for the Titans. So yeah, I agree. He brought a ton of energy to it.
I
love that there's a scene where someone pulls King Kong's tooth in this movie. That's like the moment where I knew everything would be all right.
I loved it. I thought it was so stupid, and I loved it.
My really conspiratorial take was that watching this, I was like, oh yeah, Dan Stevens that's a really fun character in this. And then I went, who was filling that role in the last movie? And then it all came back to me that it was Alexander Skarsgård's Hollow Earth scientist. And like, so Dan Stevens was, this is a little history of Adam Wingard movies here. When we were in college, there was kind of one of Adam Wingard's kind of two, I'd say, like, kind of breakout movies was The Guest, in which Dan Stevens is sort of the main character, and I think is really fun in it, and so he has history with his director, and so I sort of wondered if maybe Wingard wanted him for the Alexander Skarsgård role before, but it was his first time on. I sort of wonder, like, they're similar enough. I'm curious if, like, he's always been like, I want Dan Stevens in this movie, and we finally got him, and it paid off.
Was the Skarsgård character funny? I can't really remember.
No, he was like bitter and sad because his brother died in a Titan-related thing somehow.
Oh, okay.
But he was
so
also
better,
kind of
almost
silly.
better than.
Yeah, he wasn't that serious considering it. Like, he made pithy jokes, but he was like low energy compared to Dan Stevens.
Yes.
Dan Stevens is basically Steve Irwin in this movie.
Right.
Cool. Sam, I bet you loved having a character with an Australian accent and a character with a New Zealand accent in this movie.
Oh, did I ever? Yeah, I like that they. I actually don't know this. I could be wrong about this, but I think they replaced the kid from Hunt for the Wilder People, with the like adoption lady from Hunt for the Wilder People. Am I right? Am I right there? Like,
that's so funny. I forgot he was in the last one.
Yeah, he was. He was the one who goes, "No, that's Godzilla," and they lost him.
I love it.
And they brought in the adoption lady. I think that's the same actress. Again, if I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry.
Right. Yes. They got to fill their New Zealand quota.
That's right.
And we also have everyone's favorite character from Andor, the Scottish Nazi, playing a grumpy security guard.
I was wondering who that
by
was.
a tree.
The guy eaten by a tree. Yeah, he was like the bootlicker in Andor, which he's good in. I mean, everybody's good in Andor, but
I still haven't seen it.
I will say,
I'll take your word for it.
Really good.
I've heard that.
This company must have there was no paperwork. They were just bringing everyone on board. They were like, sure, fine, all right, you can come to Hollow Earth with us. I was like, they must not be getting sued. Like, there was no legal work needed for that.
Because of all the things I'm unclear of in this movie, I'm the most unclear on why they needed Brian Tyree Henry to go with them to Hollow Earth.
Well, I think they should have just given, they should have let him solve something. Like, they let him solve at the beginning, they should have, give him, a 5-minute thing to, agreed. They could have easily fulfilled that for him and just didn't.
Once again, just when you have questions like that, and I mean this, when you have questions that in this movie, just go.
Exactly.
It's fine.
Even the movie does it at one point.
Yes.
During the final battle, electricity hits the spaceship and it starts falling, and Dan Stevens' character says, oh no, it was the ship battery thingy. That's his line.
Yeah.
They
didn't
even come up with a technobabble thing.
They also the thing that was destroyed at the beginning with the big, the middle, or the Hollow Earth thing that was destroyed at the beginning, the station, they never, because by the math of the movie, Scar King hadn't made it up to that level of Hollow Earth yet. So it couldn't have been him, because he was still in his way deep down spot. It doesn't matter, but I'm just calling out. But
I don't think it was him directly. I think it was his people, because they're out scouting for Kong.
They even make it to Kong's. I thought they had to go through those portals to get up there. Anyways.
No, the portals take you to the human world.
Oh,
the big gooey web.
Right.
Is the barrier between the Kong level and the deep level.
Right, but that is first off, Joanna, you're not wrong to be skeptical of this. And second, it is crazy. The whole movie, just structurally, it's the humans keep going a level deeper and a level deeper and a level deeper. That's kind of what it feels like. It's the quest to go. It's kind of, a quest to go from one location to another, more and more secret in the earth.
You guys, and not once do they eat a snack. None of them have a weapon, and not once do they eat a snack or take a sip of water. It's impressive.
They're really professional.
But
it is. There is something funny about this level, going to more and more secret, deeper levels of the Earth, when Hollow Earth is the middle of the Earth. We've seen we've seen the inverse horizon. So it's when I actually started trying to map it in my brain, I was like, all right, that barrier, or first before the barrier, that place where the I forget the tribe, when they meet the Stargate tribe. They're not deeper. They're just on one of the horizons of the Earth, and just have a little secret place. And then technically, as you go through the portal, you're actually going farther from the center of the Earth. If you go deeper underground, and it's not important. It's not important. Again, don't do what I'm doing. I'm just saying, it is structurally what the movie.
Sam, I need you to make a 5th grade diorama. to like map it
Oh,
out.
you
for me.
got it.
So I can
You got
see,
it.
I need a 5th grade diorama to like
Yeah,
understand it. This would make a sick
Anyway.
video game.
Anyway, just like don't do what I'm doing. Just don't think about it. Just it's fine. It's all
No.
fine.
But it's okay. It's a good movie in that we can think about it and poke holes, but we're not poking holes in like a eye roll annoyed way. We're poking like eye roll amused because generally the movie we had fun, we had a good time, and we could say it's fine. They did enough for us so that we can, you know what I mean? It feels different than some other
poking. Yeah, normally hole poking is because you're like bored and kind of disengaged,
right.
And it's like something you do to have fun. But yeah, it just you don't
like.
You're aware the movie is like moving you on so quickly you don't see all the holes in the wall, but you don't care.
In my mind, I'm like, well, it's because they had to keep it at a tight 150 for it to be a movie that I could really get behind. So it's fine. They had to cut some shit out, not go into it.
I have some thoughts on that subject actually. On it being the question of is it, like is it mercifully short or still too long? I've heard people who've said like, well, it should have been 90 minutes because it's too it feels too long.
What?
And that's what I've heard. I've heard people. I read reviews about this. The reviews are pretty mixed on this. So I read some, and that's kind of what a lot of them were saying. The thing for me is I didn't really, it didn't click with me until we got really into Middle Earth, right? I'm just adopting what Joanna calls it. Into Middle Earth, and the beginning was a little bumpy for me, and I actually thought that it was cut. I don't want to say too tight, but like a little too chaotically for me. Like it, and I don't know if it's because all those scenes were just more exposition dump than scene.
Yeah.
But like I couldn't tell you what any moment from those introductory scenes was, because it was just like people walking in and just ping ponging a bunch of lines to each other and then we're out. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's not like maybe it's not the speed of it that was the issue, but I just kind of like I was a little like kind of disoriented. It wasn't really landing for me, and sometimes things like that feel longer. And the for me, an example of that is that's how I feel about Shin Godzilla, where it's like those dialogue scenes just seem to go on and on and on and on and on for me, and like literally they might actually benefit by being longer, but it's the way that they're being told that is the issue. And so I had a little, didn't quite do it for me until we got into some monster stuff underground.
I think too the Hollow Earth story, like once they're down there and are kind of going level after level, and you see Kong's journey too of going level after level, I feel like that all was like straightforward, very visually forward, exciting to watch. And so that was like, okay, I'm in it. And then I feel like those scenes like cutting chaotically, they had to like splice in the Godzilla narrative, right? But his narrative was like not nearly as built out. It was just like a bunch of scientists at a table being like, the levels. Oh no, he's on the move. Why? And then they'd like cut back to Middle Earth and it'd be like, da-da-da, and you'd be like, oh, okay, this is where I like being here. So, but like, Godzilla, for being the first name in the title of the film, really was not really in it at all. Or that much.
Ryan, would you say that there was more or less of Godzilla in this one versus the previous?
Less than the previous. More than other examples, though. I think there's more Godzilla in this than Monster Zero, going back. That's a famous one where he's in it very little. There's more Godzilla than the 2014 Godzilla.
Were you upset? Like, we know where we stand, right? Like, I'm, like, Kong's number one for me always. Were you, as Godzilla number one, upset by how much screen time Kong was getting versus Godzilla?
I was a little let down. And this kind of leads into the 2 points I thought of based on what you guys were saying just a minute ago. So one of them is that I wish they trusted us more, because this is a very simple movie in every way. Like simple intellectually, simple in terms of what it's trying to accomplish. So I don't understand why there's so much hand holding, which is the main purpose of all those expository scenes. Like,
yes,
a lot of that stuff we don't really need to know, or we can figure out. And similarly, I think they don't trust people will relate to Godzilla,
Yeah.
which is why he's not in this as much. Which, I don't know, that might be fair. I can relate to Godzilla. He's pretty humanistic, but I think that's probably why is they turn him into basically next to a plot device because they don't believe that people will like buy him doing the same stuff that Kong is doing in this movie. But I really like all the nonverbal stuff. I think it's pretty strong, and I would be down for the next movie to just have like no spoken words in it, just like the sign language to convey
What's
any
happening.
like more complex ideas, and the rest is just all nonverbal. That'd be a really interesting way to take the next movie.
yeah. That was my thought in the first half of the movie. Was like, man, every time we have a silent Kong scene, I'm actually getting a lot more emotion, but
So
also
good.
just literally storytelling out of those, just straight up
Yeah.
storytelling in those scenes than any of the human scene, any of the live action scenes. And when you kind of go behind the curtain, those kinds of scenes are done very differently and at different times. So it's not just like apples to apples here. It's like those are scenes that were like prevised by visual effects companies, and you go like you make them like an animated movie, and then you have these live action scenes that are made like a live action movie. So it's not like, boy, why did one kind of thing work so much better than the other? That it's just the way that movies work sometimes. But I was really much more interested in the silent giant monster scenes, and found them kind of heartwarming and engaging in a way that the human stuff, it was happening.
I feel like from the second that they showed that first part where those kind of hyena-esque monsters were going after Kong, and the second they I went, oh no, Kong is a little older. He's looking a little more tired. The second they zoomed in and showed like a split second of like fear in his eyes looking at I went, oh boy, I'm in. Here I am. Like they're going to lean into so much emotionality behind his eyes for this film, and I am here for it. I feel that too. Yeah. I mean, I personally don't connect with Godzilla on that level. They've also never really given him that level of emotionality, except for maybe in like a few films along the way. But I think too, I want to say, Kaylee Hoddle. I feel like once again, I feel like we all loved her in the last one. I think for a young actor, she just does such a good job of carrying every part that she has to carry, and I feel like the interactions between her and Kong are always some of my favorite. It's just like so immediately clear and effective, their relationship.
Yeah, she's very sweet and charming. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, even though the human stuff is very spotty, I think that ultimately they knew what they were doing. There's fewer pretensions than in the last movie. It's just like the absolute minimum human story. 4 characters, basically, and like a very simple human conflict. So even if your heart's not broken, like, oh, is Gia gonna stay in Hollow Earth? At least
Right.
there's like recognizable human emotions there that you can attach to, and they're good actors, so it works on that basic level.
And both of the last two, King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, it was like there were always 3 more human characters than I thought there were.
Yeah.
So,
What's funny is they seem to have a tradition of keeping a few characters for exactly 2 movies and then dumping them. So if there's a 4th one, I'm like, will Gia be in it, or will it be Dan Stevens but not Gia for some reason?
well, and we'll have to lose
anyway.
Brian Tyree Henry too. He's had his 2 movie
That's
quota.
true. Yeah, he's had his 2.
Movies.
Yeah, he's out. But new character I liked. I love the shitty little baby Kong. He's
Oh my
like
God.
kind of cute and sweet, but also a little bastard.
I went to see the movie at like 4:15 yesterday because I couldn't see it at night, and the movie was, when I bought tickets, it was like pretty sold out, and I was like, who the fuck is seeing this movie at 4:15? And I arrived and realized it was all families with little boys from the ages of like 6 to 12. That was a ton of the audience, and it was such a fun crowd to see it with, and I think to be reminded like, oh right, it's still for this age group too. And I feel like especially having that character, watching it with these little kids, it was very cute. I think like a great addition. He was an asshole though at the start. I mean, I get it, but
Well,
You're right. When Dan Stevens dropped the shit late in the movie, I was actually kind of like taken aback. I was like, "Oh, that's right. This is rated PG-13."
Right,
I
right.
almost wonder if they put that in there so they would get a PG-13.
Ryan, when you said when Dan Stevens dropped a shit, I was like, is that a different part of the movie that I didn't see?
Oh my god, so funny.
No, to Joanna's point, I think the thing that the place where this worked for me was that it feels like, as we've all said, Saturday morning cartoon vibes. Like we've said that before. I felt that most with this of any of these legendary Monsterverse movies, where I was like, oh yeah, this is like a lightweight kind of B-movie adventure, that reminds me of the kind of stuff that I would catch on TV as a 9-year-old and be like, wow, I'm intrigued by this. Like this is kind of fun. And I think it does have a lot less of the pretension of even the previous one, which I think was less pretentious than the previous two before that. And and I think that's like I don't think it's the only sweet spot for these movies, but it's a good sweet spot.
Right.
It's like what some of the later 60s and 70s Godzilla movies were, where they were like, yeah, this is, if you're 9 years old and catching this on TV, like you're gonna have a good old time, and it's colorful, and don't think too hard about it, but it's fun, and yeah, so I sort of like clicked into that mode about 35 minutes into the movie, where I went, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I remember catching Stargate on TV, the movie that is kind of like the Donkey Kong 64 of movies for me, where I was like, everyone likes Stargate, James Spader, and then realized that not everyone likes Stargate. It's like that.
Let me know too if this is just because I love Kong inherently, but really the narrative of him trying to find family and others like him. I mean, it's why Ice Age works so well, right? Like it's just a simple narrative for these big animals that really, really works. And I feel like the journey of seeing Kong be old and tired and like, is he good? Like when the little guy took him to that lake and that monster came, I feel like there were like a handful of moments where you were like, I don't know if he's gonna win, but then he pulls it off. Like I was pretty leaned in at this point. I had points in the movie, is because I care about Kong so much, where I was like crouching back in my seat and kind of like had my fingers over and was like covering my mouth and was like like I was gasping along with all the children in the theater having a blast. But I think that it really, and when he got to the when Scar King pulled out that, whatever thing he had, that
spine whip,
metal spine whip, like I had multiple times throughout the movie where my heart was racing. I was leaned in. I was like, oh no, Will Kong, is he gonna die? And so I give them kudos for that. Like I had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, it wasn't like, it was a very simple plot line.
Yeah, on the subject of Scar King, I know that Ryan, you want to move on, but I just want to say I really like Scar King. He's like a Mad Max monkey. Like
yes.
he feels like
yes.
he's great. I will say that something that felt a little funky in the story that then I tried not to think about, but I still thought about is it does feel like the plot is setting up for this big historical like evil Kong uprising. You know what I mean? And it never felt like he was the king of like a kingdom of Kongs. Like it kind of felt like it was him and 15 of his friends and his weird like little lizard horse, which I is maybe it's a budget thing, but like it didn't quite land with me, and I was like, yeah, they don't feel like that big of a threat, like they're kind of a threat, but again, it's a lower budget movie than the previous one, and that's when you kind of view it as like an episode of the week a little bit, you go, yeah, all right, because he's got, Scar King's got a lot of personality. I love the reveal shot of him with his like posture, or like, kind of like sway back posture, the eyes. Well, the eyes was the other one. Yeah. The eyes was the
I love
was his lizard.
I felt like
she
the
said
inspiration
eyes,
for him.
not ice.
Oh,
yeah.
no. I thought eyes was. Oh no, he has weird eyes too. They both have eyes.
Yeah.
What am I saying?
No, the inspiration for him when he first came out, they were totally, I feel like, stealing from Night King from Game of Thrones. Like that's the vibe they were kind of giving this Scar King, and I was here for it. The shot where he's riding his ice lizard was basically exactly shots pulled from Game of Thrones, and I was like, I'm here. Let's take it. Let's run with it.
When he is riding his ice lizard horsey and Kong is riding Godzilla like a horsey and they're racing at each other.
So
Come on.
So, and then they have that freeze frame because the gravity falls. I was like, this is perfect. I'm a 9-year-old boy now, and I'm here for it. I think too. There was. Oh, you go first, Ryan.
I was just gonna say, there were several moments where I'm not afraid to say I was cheering in the theater because, like, I saw it in a packed house just like you, Joanna. Everybody was like hyped up for it, and even Natalia. To touch on something else you said, she doesn't like watch all these movies with me. She's not that into them. But there were 2 times when she like grabbed my arm and her eyes were like teary for Kong. Like first when he fell in the hole and saw like the skulls of like his family members.
So sad. Ugh.
And then again when he was like signing to Gia, like I lost my home both times. She was emotional, and I was like, that's great.
Oh, breaking my heart again. That is so sad. The him and Gia piece. I think too for Scar King. This idea of how is he gonna like take over the world. I think that the one like scale with the film, sometimes it was hard to tell. Just like sometimes Kong looked kind of little, sometimes he looked really big. And I feel at the end when Scar King was on that beach, you were like, oh, this guy's massive. He could really fuck shit up. But like he didn't seem that big the whole rest of the time.
Right, because in Hollow Earth, like everything's scaled to Kong size.
Right. But I think that once that happened, I went, okay. But I want to talk about too Godzilla and then the fight, obviously, like the end of the. Because I thought
before we get there, we only briefly talked about the baby Kong. So if you guys want to talk more about that, because I do.
You go off, Ryan. You kick us off.
Okay.
I want to talk about it, but I want you to talk about him first.
Again, I love how he's both cute. He has these little sympathetic moments where you're like, oh, he's been abused, and Kong's treating him nicely, and that's nice. But he's also, like, representing everything that's, like, kind of horrible and unsettling about monkeys. Like, his screeching and his sharp little teeth, and he's, like, grabbing onto people and biting them.
He oscillates between, like, an adorable Build-A-Bear you could get and, like, Gollum, which I really loved about him. He was really between the two. When he was in that lake making those little shifty eyes, like that was a moment I was super leaned in. I was like, this motherfucker. I was pissed at him.
Joanna, I just want to say, I think all little kids oscillate between an adorable Build-A-Bear and Gollum.
They really do. They really do. Some of my friends who are like so eager to have kids now, and I'm like, I don't think you've ever actually been around a child, so you just need to be aware of the fact that my 9-year-old niece is the meanest motherfucker the meanest person I know, and also the best. But she will cut you if she wanted to. Like, no one could cut you to your core like she could. And I love her for it.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a great moment when Kong first meets him, and you see him so happy and like encouraging that he's finally seeing another
Yeah.
big ape. And then there's the fight, where 5 minutes later he's using the baby as a club and whacking people over the head with it.
Yeah, that's good.
I was laughing so hard at that bit.
And the ending, I feel like the whole little arc, again, it was simple, but the little arc of the baby grabbing Kong's, whatever his tool
His
type
axe.
thing is, and taking it, it was a sweet little arc that they gave that guy. Even him, when they were in the kind of zero gravity spot and he was like jumping around. Yeah, I just thought he was a good ad. I wonder if we'll see more of him.
Yeah, it just made me wish that there was also a baby Godzilla in this.
I knew, absolutely.
I thought
You were
that's why
like,
they were
are
gonna
they
bust
bringing
that
Minya
in.
back or what? I do think really too, though, for like the kids watching it, it was just a good ad that they decided to bring in.
But yeah, Godzilla has some fun scenes. I love how he likes taking a little nap in the
I
Coliseum.
love that. I was once again on like the age-old question: is he good or is he bad? No clue. Still couldn't tell at the beginning of the movie. I'm like, he's protecting, but then he's just. I don't really know.
Well, I think they really said it at the beginning. Someone calls Godzilla a big angry baby.
Right.
That's about right. He's a protector, but he's very temperamental.
And he can kill people along the way and crush the
Yeah.
Coliseum. I feel too, he always looks far superior and bigger than Kong when they show them separately. I'm like, this guy's the winner, obviously.
Yeah. I think they're still attempting to maintain some level of mythology, so they think that they're trying to make Godzilla the more dangerous and dire of the two, which I'm like, just make them friends at this point. It's
I know.
more fun.
One day.
Sure. Great graffiti of Fat Godzilla eating pizza. Loved that.
Perfect
That was
one.
Another great tonal cue.
I
wish he had been in it more.
that he had a little more of a story other than, hey, Godzilla's going. Why is he going? Something's
Yeah.
happening. Godzilla's rumbling along.
Yeah.
I love
yeah,
the shots of him swimming. I always love Godzilla swimming. I loved the most, though, Godzilla in the ice and Pink Godzilla. Like, Pink Godzilla was giving Rave Godzilla vibes. I was like, this guy's going to Bushwick tonight. And I was a big fan of that. But again, when Kong comes up above ground and is trying to, like, I feel like with Kong so much more, they showed moments of Kong giving the bad guys he was up against a second to change their ways, right? Like when he doesn't fully drop that guy and then that guy comes back to kill him and he pushes him off the cliff. This, again, I'm like, Godzilla's an asshole. He doesn't even give Kong a second. Kong's there like, wait, stop. Please.
Right, he's like pointing to the hole.
Boom. He's like, please. I'm like, Godzilla's an asshole. So, I don't know, Ryan, fight me on it. Push back, give an argument.
In this movie, he is an asshole.
He is an asshole. In this one.
But he knows happy wife, happy life, so he listens to Mothra.
He listens to Mothra. Oh my god.
But yeah, I when I saw the trailer, the shot of like Pink Godzilla and Kong wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, like running towards the camera with the cavern collapsing, I'm like, this movie is either going to be amazing or awful.
Right.
And in a way, it was kind of both, but far more amazing.
I loved that all of those. I loved that every veterinary product that what's his name needed was already made, set, prepped, available to utilize right away. I love that they just happened to have that tooth that they could fly in. He didn't hardly even have any seatbelt on to pull off that move. And then I did love the payoff of getting the metal arm and seeing how it was effective against Scar King's, ice whip, all of that. I loved the simple payoff. At first I went, this metal arm is corny. And it kind of was, but they at least made it serve its real purpose. So I appreciated that.
And they show that it's like, it's going to be really powerful because you see Kong actually disables Godzilla for a minute. And
Right,
starts
like it made
dragging
him
by
more
the tail
powerful.
towards the toll.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool. The fight in general, I feel like, how long was that from when they're in Hollow Earth still? The gravity is, I thought that was really cool when the gravity wasn't, when that was taken away for a second. I thought those scenes were really fun to watch.
It was cool. It is the only fight scene I have a quibble with, though, because it's intentionally messy. Like, it's unclear where anyone is in this floating, like, rock sphere, because they don't want you to know that Mothra wasn't there originally.
Right.
So it's the only thing where, like, the positioning just doesn't make any sense. But it was a cool idea, and they definitely do fun stuff with it.
Yeah, and then I thought when Scar King made it up and his ice, what was that ice dragon's name? He was pretty cool. When he blocked out the sun.
Yeah. What is Shimo? That's the.
I'm just rarely ever there for a fight that's like 20 minutes long, right? It was probably like 15 to 20 minutes. But this one I was there for. So I think that's a big kudos to the movie for me.
This is going to sound crazy, but I actually had a slight quibble with that last bit of the fight on land, in that I felt like it was missing a beat. Like, I felt like we all know we need to get the little remote controller of what was Shimo? What was his name?
Shimo, yeah.
Shimo. Like, we need the remote controller. We gotta destroy that or use it, right? And I kind of feel like, to me, and by the way, this is an episode of the week, Saturday morning cartoon, and that's fine. That's great. But like, it isn't the most satisfying to have another unexpected appearance of a character who isn't in the fight. Well, Mothra does it too, but I was going to say
Mothra's not in that one.
Right.
She's in the zero gravity one, but she's not in Rio.
I was going to say the little child ape shows up, unexpectedly and destroys it, and it's like the last kind of game-changing decision by the heroes. It's not the most satisfying thing for it to be, an unexpected appearance by a character who we deliberately kept out of view for a bit. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted Godzilla and Kong to do something. It's fine. It's fine, and I'm not saying that thus we should have had a lot more fighting, but it wasn't like the most satisfying ending to me.
I agree. It would have been more satisfying had Kong or Godzilla been the ones to complete that part, or yeah.
That's the one part, to touch on what you said earlier too. That's the one part where I think the Saturday morning cartoon part of it went a little too far, and that they should have had a more threatening Scar King in every way, because like at a certain point you're like, oh yeah, Kong and Godzilla are gonna cream this guy. Like, he's no Ghidorah. And having like a little bit more intimidation, less reliance on Shimo would have been smart, I think.
Yeah, and less reliance on that. I wanted to see like his strength in and of itself. He was given a little, Batman. He's got his tools, but what can he do on his own?
An example would be like at the end of The Incredibles, they discover that the giant robot has a remote, and rather than destroy it, they have to use the remote to pilot the thing to do the stuff, and they all have to work together to make it work, and the thing's not working, and so it's still like them using teamwork and executing a plan to end it, and this was kind of like, the guy showed up and saved the day. He wasn't here because we didn't have him here, and then we had him appear at the right time. And again, fine, it's fine. But I'm with you guys. That was my a minor quibble, but who cares? It was fun. So.
But Sam, I love that you said incredibly seriously, like it at the end of The Incredibles. I just really appreciated that there was no. Like, it was fully serious.
I mean, The Incredibles has a pretty good story.
Oh, it's a fantastic. I mean, it's a fantastic series, but just very funny. Good for them. Good for those Incredibles. I
I
think
will
though
say,
again,
I think
it's a fun movie to pick at because ultimately we don't care because we still had fun and had a good time. It's fun to be able to like pick at a movie in that way of like it doesn't fully matter. Here's my like little
Yeah.
stuff that could have, but it still won us over generally.
Yeah, sometimes if anyone likes the movie and is feeling defensive about us picking at it, I find that I pick at movies that I like, but still don't think are excellent. Those are the ones I pick at the most because if I really don't like it, I'm just like whatever.
It's
yeah,
all a
fine.
wash. If you don't
Yeah,
like it, it's like
why bother? Why bother? Why think about what would have made it an all-time favorite? Like I'm not going to spend the time thinking about that. Whereas
you're talking way more in this episode than, for example, the 90s, like any of the 90s movies, which I think says a lot about your point. I love how we get some fun areas we haven't seen in giant monster movies before. We get a Rome sequence, Cairo destroying the beloved ancient pyramids, and ending in Rio on the beaches.
I loved
Rio.
ending in Rio. They had maybe it's the old, raised Catholic in me, but the second that monster covered the sun and they showed that big Jesus, I went, ooh, there's going to be a fight. I'm like, it's so satisfying now. I feel like, every Godzilla film is like, it's got to show like the name of now we're in this city, ooh, and the flyover of it. But I'm now like so in it that I like love it. I'm like, yes. Like sometimes I think it used to feel a little cheap to me, maybe like, and now we're here, and now we're here. But now I'm obsessed with it. I'm like, show the name of it. Let's set it up. We're moving around the world.
Yeah, had me flashing back to Godzilla '98 with the on-screen title of "The City That Never Sleeps."
Exactly, the best. Godzilla also sleeping in the Coliseum. He reminded me of my old cat, so I really loved it.
That's I think what Adam Wingard said was the inspiration for that. I think Godzilla is inspired by
his cat.
Yeah, I heard or read somewhere that he was like, Godzilla was inspired by my cat, and he then like spoke with the director of Godzilla -1, and the -1 director's like, Godzilla's my Godzilla was inspired by my cat, and they Godzilla's inspired by cats.
That's cute. I mean, there is that not famous but semi-famous meme where it's just Godzilla faces, and then next to that are pictures of cats where it looks just like Godzilla's face. So
and you know what? Kong looks like my old cat too, because my cat's old, and once Kong's old, drunk Kong kind of reminds me of my cat, actually. whenever we see that version of it.
Right. Speaking of drunk Kong, this is my awkward connection. Berry Juice, Islanders. I was very unsure of them, like, immediately pulling back on the Iwi decision. Like, I remember saying when we did the last episode, I felt like it was a mistake and, like, super weird. And they just didn't want to deal with, like, the sticky ethics of taking Kong away from his home island. So they made it just not exist. But now it's kind of awkward. They're like, oh, wait, no, there's actually still more of them just underground. It just felt off. What did you guys think?
I think that I was so happy that Gia didn't feel so alone anymore. And I also was just kind of there for it to see the world. I think I was like, I liked the balance of, okay, there's Scar King with his like fuller world setup that we haven't seen, and then here's this human version that we're like mirroring it with. But I think also too, it was a part, at that point in the movie, I just wasn't asking that many questions. I was just like, yep, here we are.
They do show up.
And they're communicating without words, which I love, and here we are.
Yeah, I think the mistake. To me, it's a mistake to try to judge these holistically. Like look at it as a whole in the series, because they're made individually. They're made like one at a time. And in this movie, Gia's whole thing is she seems like she's someone without a home. She's not at home in the like weird school on the base camp, which like who would be? Jeez, that's so weird.
So weird.
And and she's got a little conflict with her with her Scarlett Johansson haired mom, and and then she finds supposedly what she thought she wanted, which was her it's like that like works in and of itself. If you then go, oh, let's back up, they got rid of the tribe, then they brought it back, and then a new place, it's kind of weird. And it's like, yeah, but these aren't made with a with a full view of where
piece
they're
of
headed.
narrative in mind. I think too. Wait, so if Mothra was added after that whole narrative around she's there to bring Mothra back to life was also all added in the last year.
It had to have been something different. Like
right,
Gia
there had to be
important
something.
for something different. I don't know
right,
what it was.
Right.
Honestly, that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that big old membrane wall that they kept coming up to. I'm like, this would be a sick activation to have at Universal Parks or something like that. It just looks so cool.
Yeah, there were a lot of moments where I'm like, damn, this would be a fun theme park ride. Or
Yeah.
I want another Godzilla video game. Lots of stuff like that.
Yeah, the Mothra, summoning Mothra, that's one of those things where if you really try to make sense of it, when you guys were like, it's such a simple plot. Like, that's the one where I was like, they summoned in the Kong team to help summon Mothra to stop the king, the ape king. All right, sure. It's sort of, it doesn't, the movie does enough to make you not really question it, but it isn't like the most clear and most clear. Like, it's not the best. Like, it's not super clean. But it's fine. But I did have that thought when they like uncovered the little button or the little carving of Mothra. I was like, what? All right, sure, whatever, cool.
It makes so much sense that you're like, oh, they added her after, because that's exactly what it feels like. She wasn't really involved in the like. I literally was like, okay, she's like kind of spitting out webs to like hold these monkeys to these floating rocks, but besides that, and she's like, Godzilla, stop being an asshole. But yeah, makes more sense now.
I mean, as soon as I saw the Mothra carving, I was in. But yeah, it's definitely. I
Ryan, I was like, and Ryan's gonna love this movie.
And they don't give you a moment to like see the Mothra carving and put it together for yourself. Like, there's a line, like Rebecca Hall off screen is like, "That's a carving of Mothra, y'all." I
also was another thing that they just didn't. They don't have to. Was when they did the triangle pyramids connecting for the gravity, and how did everyone get out of there? But it's okay. I mean, I know that came in with the ship, but how did everyone else get out of there? But it doesn't matter. They made it out, and they all survived, so that's good. But just one other moment.
I believe they all get on the ship.
No, but there were a lot of people there.
I know, but it's like a blink and you miss it thing. The Queen does like this, and Brian Tyree Henry says, "Oh, she's telling everyone to evacuate," and that's like.
I just didn't think the ship was that big. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It truly doesn't.
Yes, I think that's another one of those. Just all right, yeah, sure. We're having good enough
exactly.
time. Like, one thing I was gonna say, I feel like I want to like clarify some of my statements before, in case it sounds like we're being too negative on this, or too critical. When I say like they were using editing to point us away from holes in the drywall, that's true of every movie. Like, that's not like just like, it's not like this is I mean, maybe it was an especially messy, situation. Who knows? But like, that's literally what editing is. So, as you find things, you go, oh yeah, this stuff, this cause and effect, this thing doesn't make sense. Oh, if we, sometimes it's as simple as like, what if we cut to the reaction of this person, and then now we're just deliberately we're removing a question that doesn't need to be asked, or something like that. Like that stuff happens in the best movie you've ever seen and in the worst movie you've ever seen. So it's kind of like, that's not to. I don't want to like be hating on this and being like, yeah, there are all these problems and they're just like trying to brush them away. It's like, that's kind of what the task is on anything, So yeah, like the fact that we all had a good time and enjoyed it is kind of proof that someone did something right.
And with that, shall we dive into our judgments?
Let's do it. I don't want to go first.
Cut it here. That's all right. I'll go first because I actually had to like write through my thoughts, and you guys can build off of me. All right. If you haven't listened to us before, we judge each movie according to our holy scripture. We have to find its proper place in the afterlife. The best movies end in heaven, the worst in hell. If they're kind of in the middle, they go to purgatory. So, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. I guess it's better than Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 as a title. Anyway, so
Which is
I
the
haven't
third
fact-checked.
Mechagodzilla. In case everyone was wondering.
I haven't fact-checked this, but I believe it. I heard that Adam Winger described this as a modern champion festival movie. Do you guys remember what that is? Because I can remind you if not.
I have no idea what that is.
It's not that I don't remember. I never had learned what it is to begin with.
Ryan, you forget who
No,
you're
I've
talking
told both
to.
of you. So I had a feeling. That's why I wrote down you may need to remind them. So, starting in 1969, Toho would put on these basically like nationwide special screenings called the Toho Champion Festival for the summer and winter holidays in Japanese schools. And because, as we saw in Godzilla's Revenge, a lot of absent parents for the kids whose parents couldn't take them to go do things, this was a way to you would drop them off at the movie theater in the morning, and it would run all day. It would just be like lots of movies and cartoons and like episodes of a TV show like blown up on the big screen.
Wait, that's so cute.
And yes, and so they would re-edit old Godzilla movies for this to be shorter and more kid-focused. And the new Godzilla movies were like specifically made to like headline the Champion Festival. And so hearing that makes so much sense. This is like the Uber Champion Festival movie. It's like the better modern version of Godzilla versus Gigan.
Yeah, that.
So
like this would have been the headliner end of the day one. Going
yes.
up for the kiddos.
So on the level of telling a coherent story where we care about the characters, this is like 2 steps above complete garbage. On the level of technical filmmaking, it's a 50-50 mixed bag. We have some clever editing and directorial choices, not great animation. But on the level of entertaining me, getting a crowd to whoop and cheer, I can only call it a true success. This may even hit my top 10, so I gotta put it in.
Whoa! That's big. Those are big words you're saying, Ryan.
Yeah.
So with
All right,
that,
Sam, you want to go next?
All right, well, buckle up, because I don't know if I can top that. So first off, it's interesting. I pretty much agree. I mean, the animation to criticize the animation. This is a lower budget movie than any of the legendary movies before it. I would guess. I assume. I think it's probably not even close. So it clearly kind of is what it is in that sense. I've seen a lot of criticisms of it. Like I read some reviews, and there were a lot that were like, "This is just typical big studio CGI barfest stuff," and it's so funny because like I'm a critic of that kind of stuff too. Like I haven't liked. If I'm being honest, I was kind of out on the MCU long before. It seemed like everyone kind of was. Mainstream was, where I was just like, I just kind of, it's just a bunch of stuff. But it was actually like the spirit of them, and strangely enough, I connect to the spirit of this like reminds me of the kind of stuff that I grew up watching. And it took me back to being a 9-year-old and being like, I'm intrigued by this. This is like a fun little adventure, and it seems it's lighthearted, and it's kind of kind-hearted in a weird way.
Yeah.
So like I liked it. I had a good time, and I would like if I had like a 9-year-old kid and they were like, what are we watching? I'd be like, you know what? You'll have a good time with this. I think here's a crazy thought. I think other than Kong Skull Island, at least of the other legendary, the Godzilla-centric legendary movies, this is the one I enjoyed the most. I think they're probably all, if I'm really being honest, they're pretty close. Like I don't think I feel that strongly about any one of them. I think they're all kind of relatively similar in how I feel about them and in quality with different strengths and weaknesses. And this one is I think technically, or just again, it was made probably faster and cheaper, but so I can't compare it in some ways to the others, but I had the best time with it. And and Mac has watched all of them with me, and we both left the theater and went, you know what, honestly, pretty enjoyable, good time. So I'm going heaven on this one. And it's pretty enjoyable.
Nice. Yeah,
Yay.
That's a great point. It definitely, despite having some things in common, it stands out from what they're talking about, the CGI vomit mess movies. It has a different spirit. I totally agree. All right, Joanna, is this going to be a straight flush?
Well, it just might be. I had a blast watching this movie. I was in pretty quickly. The second we go to Hollow Earth, I'm pretty leaned in. I agree with Sam. I think definitively, but besides maybe Skull Island, this is for sure my favorite. The Millie Bobby Brown's one, especially the first one. But I think Skull Island, from what I remember of it too, just felt very like the feel of it. So they almost feel different to compare to. But I think, Ryan, what you said was the kind of goal of this spirit of it from the beginning. I think it really achieved that. I think it was super fun to watch in theaters. I was, again, covering my eyes, gasping along, feeling sad alongside Kong as well. And for me, being someone who doesn't too critically judge the CGI, I guess, I had a great time with it. I thought the monsters looked good. I liked the journey of each of the different little phases that we saw along the way. Pink Rave Godzilla. I was here for all of it. And I think, as I usually am, except for the original creepy ass Kong when he first came out, I'm always here for Kong's stories and narratives that he's going along. So I said at the beginning, 12 out of 10 fun. I texted a few people when I got out, including my dad and some pals, and I was like, you guys got to catch this one in theaters. Pretty fun. So definitely a heaven for me, and one that I would rewatch happily, which can't be said for all of them. So I'm glad I saw it. My friend was like, oh, I'm going to see it on Tuesday. Do you want to come? And I was like, I don't think I can with my schedule, but like, wow, I actually probably would be totally content to just eat some $10, $20 movie popcorn and watch it again.
Oh, it's a good feeling.
A winner for me.
Yes. All right, that is a straight flush.
Woo!
Woo!
Theaters forever. If it's still in theaters when this is out, for whoever hasn't seen it, I recommend catching it on the big old screen.
Absolutely. It's awesome. And yeah, again, I agree. Might be my favorite apart from Skull Island, or I might even like it more. Though I think Skull Island is a better crafted movie.
Agree. Yes, agree with that. Yeah.
But here we go. With our letter, we need more letters and reviews. I've finally gotten to the end of my back pile, or back stock, whatever you want to call it. So please send them in. But here's one from Zeth L. Just finished watching the virtual live show and wish I could have been there. This podcast got me through the pandemic and hit just the right nostalgia levels to be funny and critical of my favorite giant monster. As a longtime fan, I'm happy that a podcast like this has gone on as long as it has. I'm looking forward to a Shin review, and I'm hoping, well, you've gotten it since then. I'm hoping the newer content gets a look at too. Thanks for making my travels and cooking time a blast and getting me lost in all the great ways you appreciate and or poke fun at these movies. I've learned a bunch of great stuff from this podcast and will listen until the end.
Wait, yay, thank you. I'm so glad you watched the live show. Because I do think it's so silly and fun for people who are fans of this to check out. Like obviously for those who have seen it, anytime Mothra comes out, my first thought is Ryan's going to love this movie. And my second thought yesterday was, God, I really can't believe we did that silly little number at the live show.
My dear sweet angel of the morning. That's what
Exactly.
I thought when she popped
Yeah.
up.
So thank you for sharing that and for watching the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you a lot. Thank you a lot? What a weird thing to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you a lot. I liked the movie a lot.
Sorry, it's early. It's early for me.
Oh my gosh.
Still early days, love. Yes, if you haven't seen the live show, please go see it. It's on our site, very affordable.
And let me tell you, it is a hoot and a riot.
It's a hoot, a riot, a howdy.
12 out of 10 fun, I would say. 12 out of 10 fun for sure.
And we've still got merch if you want that. If you don't have any money, that's okay. You can still help us by writing reviews on Apple Podcasts, giving us ratings on your favorite podcast provider, comments and subscriptions on YouTube. All of those help us out a lot, as does, of course, recommending the pod. I know we're coming to the end here, but we still got a few more left, and we have a big backlog for them to go through. And we want to finish strong. We got some cool stuff.
Ryan, wait. This is the last year of we'll be caught up to all content that currently exists in the world?
We will. Yeah.
Wow. Wild. I forgot about that.
Yes. I mean, we've skipped a few TV shows, but apart from that.
Wow. Crazy.
Sam, let's watch all the TV shows. You're down for that, right?
That sounds great. I am in. Let's continue it for years and years to come. On a never-ending treadmill of Godzilla content, where every time you're nearing the end, new ones come out.
One other final thing I wanted to say about this movie is I feel like through the long journey of us doing this podcast, there have been moments, some of the movies we watch, I'm like, how the fuck is this franchise still go? Like, it's crazy to think about. And I feel like this movie made me go, you know what? I get it. I get why this is still going. And I feel like this breathed a little bit of new life into it for all the 9-year-olds I was at the theater with. And that was another exciting piece of it, why I would put it in heaven. I feel like it added value to the franchise, like breathed excitement into it for some more years to come.
Well, there are probably some people who are like banging their heads against the wall while we're saying stuff like this, because they're like, but what about -1? And like,
I was just gonna say,
and like that's like what people have been saying about that. And I haven't seen it. I know Ryan has, but I don't think Joanna and I have seen it, right?
No, I've been holding out until right when we're about to record, so it's fresh on the brain. But
Right.
My mom keeps texting me like, when are you going to see -1? I loved it. And she is not a Godzilla person. And also the Oscars again. Just
Right.
you guys wait.
But
Yeah.
in a way, maybe there's a place for both. Maybe -1 is a good example of a really good Godzilla, and maybe this is a good example of you put it on,
A champion
and you have
fest.
fun, and it's and it's silly, and I've already forgotten what happened in it. Like what did we just talk about?
But Sam, this would be for sure a party background movie, right? I mean, it has to be. Hollow Earth, come on. Scar King, right?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it is. I mean, it could be in your party background mix. I mean, look, honestly, here's what I'm going to say is unfortunately Ryan showed us Inframan, and that is the all-time party background movie.
No, it's true.
And nothing will ever live up to that. And it's not even a Godzilla movie, which is extra, it's brutal, but I don't think anything can ever beat that. And so now I think I
you're
might have
right.
to retire that category altogether.
Inframan just ended it.
It did. It
It's
did.
Yeah.
I love
But
it.
yeah, I think you guys will feel the same way about -1. And yeah, you kind of said it perfectly without even seeing it, Sam. I feel like I love that they both came out so close together, so no one feels like they're missing out. We have both kinds of good Godzilla movies. Right next to each other.
-1, the name is so good. It gives me the feeling that the vibe of the movie is going to be like, Ryan, is that accurate or no?
No, it's more like sad violin music is the vibe.
That's okay. I have plenty of time to pivot my opinion of it now, I guess. Good to know. But what a great name. Maybe one of the best ones they've come up with.
Yeah, it's great. But yes, enough rattling about the future. You'll see that episode soon. And in the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.
Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast, is brought to you by me, Ryan Sargent, and my friends Joanna Brodecki and Sam Schlenker. This episode was edited by Brogan Malloy. All our incredible music is composed by Robert Mai, and our wonderful artwork is drawn by Cassidy Stone. Special thanks to our families, friends, and the wonderful artists who made the movies we talked about today. Godzillavangelists is a satirical, critical work not affiliated or endorsed by Toho, Legendary Pictures, or anyone behind the Godzilla series. Visit our website at godzillavangelists.com. We're also on Twitter at GodzillaCast and Instagram at GodzillaVangelists. If you prefer to listen to us online, we have a YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you join us next time. In the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.